Let's continue with another important topic, which is double angle identities. So here let's start with the first one. It is sine 2x is equal to 2 times sine x times cosine x. So we will use this one a lot. So this formula actually comes from the sum formula for sine. As you can remember, how was it? It was like instead of sine 2x, okay, actually we can write this as sine x plus x, right? So how was the formula for how was the sum formula for sine? It was sine x times cosine x plus cosine x times sine x, right? It was one sine, one cosine, one cosine, one sine. It was like this. Since this is x plus x, we put plus here. So from here we get sine x times cosine x times sine x. So this is also equal to 2 times sine x times cosine x, right? So this formula actually comes from the sum formula for sine. So actually we can also play with this formula, depends on the question. For example, if you need sine x times cosine x, you can write this as cosine x. You can write this as sine 2x over 2, for example. So it's all up to question. So let's look at this example. Here we have cosine 3x is equal to a. So what's the value of sine 6x over sine 3x? So since we have here sine 3x, we can use double angle identities for sine 2x on the sine 6x. So let's do that. Instead of sine 6x, I can write this as 2 times sine 3x times cosine 3x, right? Like here. And then I have also here sine 3x. So as you can see, these two cancel out each other, and from here I will get 2 times cosine 3x. I know cosine 3x is equal to a, so this is equal to 2a. Let's look at this example. Here we have sine x minus cosine x is equal to 1 over 4. So what is the value of sine 2x? So whenever you see questions like this, okay, you always start with taking square of both sides. Why? Because you will get sine square x plus cosine square x from that, and we know that it's equal to 1, and usually actually you will be able to find whatever you need. So let's start with that. Let's take square of these both sides. So here we put square, and we also put our square, and from here it will be sine square x, okay, minus 2 times sine x times cosine x plus cosine square x, which is equal to 1 over 4 square, it is 16. So sine 2x, we just learned that actually sine 2x, we also write this as 2 times sine x times cosine x, right? You see, we have this here. So all we need to do is to find this value. So let's do that. We know that sine square x plus cosine square x is equal to 1. So it's 1 minus 2 times sine x times cosine x, which is equal to 1 over 16. So let me put this one other side and then this one this side, and we will get 1 minus 1 over 16 is equal to 2 times sine x times cosine x, which is equal to sine 2x, right? So from here it's 16 minus 1, 15 over 16 is equal to sine 2x. Let's continue with our second formula. Here we have cosine 2x, which is equal to cosine square x minus sine square x. Okay, this formula is also comes from the sum formula for cosine. How was it? Instead of cosine 2x, when I write cosine x plus x, okay, so it was cosines are on the one side and sines are on the other side, right? So it will be cosine x times cosine x minus, because it has plus here, and when it comes to cosines it changes signs, right? Because these are all for you to remember the formulas. So cosine x times cosine x and minus sine x times sine x, right? So from here we will get cosine square x minus sine square x, you see? So we got the same formula. Also, there are two other way of writing this equation. How? We know that sine square x plus cosine square x is equal to 1, right? So here, instead of sine square x, actually I can write 1 minus cosine square x, right? When I put this one to other side, I will get this. So let's rewrite this again. So cosine 2x will be equal to cosine square x minus sine square x. So I use this one, it's minus 1, minus minus, this will be positive, plus cosine square x, which is equal to 2 cosine square x minus 1. You see, this is another equation. So also there is another one which is instead of cosine square x, I can also put, when I put this one here, 1 minus sine square x, right? Instead of cosine square x, when I put this sine square x to other side, it will be 1 minus sine square x. So let's do that. Then cosine 2x will be, instead of this I will put this one, 1 minus sine square x minus sine square x, which is equal to 1 minus 2 sine square x. You see, this is your first formula, this one is the second, and this one is third. It's all up to question. I mean, it depends on question. Whichever is easier for you, you can choose one of these. Let's continue with this example. Here we have cosine x is equal to 1 over 4. So what is the value of cosine 2x? Since we know the value of cosine x, we will use the formula which is with the cosine x. How was it? It was cosine 2x is equal to 2 cosine square x minus 1. So cosine x is 1 over 4, so cosine square x is 1 over 16, right? So from here we will get 2 times 1 over 16 minus 1. So this is equal to 1 over 8. So it's 1 over 8 minus 1, which is equal to, this will be minus 7 over 8. So let's look at the formula for tangent. Tangent 2x is equal to 2 tangent x over 1 minus tangent square x. Okay, this is the formula for tangent when it comes to these formulas. So let's look at this one. For example, tangent 50. If I want to rewrite this again, I can write this as, if I know the value of tangent 25, I can write this as 2 tangent 25, okay, half of it, over 1 minus tangent square 25.